Assalamu alaikum jami'an. Hi everyone. Thank you for joining us here today, and thanks to HIA for having us in this beautiful venue at HIA Hub in Jax. We have with us today Sophie Hill, who's visiting from the UK. Welcome, Sophie, to Saudi.
Thank you, and thank you for having us. Really excited to be here.
So it's such an exciting time, not only in Diriyah district and in Riyadh, but in Saudi as a whole. And you know, Saudi Arabia has such a unique and diverse population, which is very much driven by this young and vibrant society, most of whom we see with us here today. We've noticed that, you know, there's a rising, differences between the different tastes in the regions of Saudi Arabia. Jeddah is different than Riyadh, different than Khubar. I mean, we're all similar, but there's also that unique shift in tastes and in demand for experiences. And now more than ever, we see this narrative which is evolving. So at Chalhoub Group, we've been spending a lot of time trying to understand the consumer. And with this, we see a rise in entrepreneurship and a rise in local designers that are really flourishing in Saudi with the support of the Ministry of Culture, with the Fashion Commission, by way of introducing support through mentorship, through funding, through expertise. So it's definitely, a time for fashion, the fashion industry, to really be part of this narrative, both locally, regionally, but also internationally. And at Chalhoub Group, we've been in the kingdom for quite some time, for over 65 years. And so we've noticed that there's now a demand for innovation, right? The consumer is demanding different experiences. It's less transactional with luxury retail and more experiential. And so we've noticed that, we've had to really focus our gaze on innovation, on engaging with startups in order to really solve some of the corporate challenges and pain points that we may have, whether it's in e-commerce, performance marketing, curation of the e-commerce experience, but also creating content for e-com. I'd love to know, Sophie, you've launched Threads over 11 years ago, so you...
Yeah, 10 years now. It changed at the beginning, but it's evolved.
So, we'd love to know, with your online presence and your global outreach, I'd love to know some of your experiences in this space in luxury retail.
One thing about Threads is it's very much a product of its clients. So they have helped us create everything that we have as a business, every product. So the fact that we are based on chat primarily is because that's where they wanted us to be. The fact that we produce the volume of content that we do is because that's what our community and clients want from us. So I think what we have stayed very true to is that our community and our clients really guide us around all of our business decisions, and I think that helped us stay innovative because we listen to them versus listening to even the industry peers, because in the industry they really wanted to stay the way things were, and people were really clinging to the fact that this is how it's always been, so we need to continue. And particularly in luxury, I think it doesn't move fast, whereas we really actually listened to the clients and we said, you know what, we're not going to follow the industry, we're going to follow what they want and what they want from us. And I ask our clients today as many questions as I did 9 years ago, and even as we've got bigger, and it's so important to me that I ask our clients, all the time, what can we do better? What do you want from us? What is missing in luxury for you, what's missing in retail for you, and again, that's just helped us guide all of our decisions.
I mean, the best thing you could do in retail, right, is to really listen to the consumer, especially now that this consumer is changing and evolving, not only during the pandemic, but also the fact that, you know, many of the consumers in Saudi specifically are under the age of 30. So, you know, we foresee that by 2025, almost 60% of the consumers in luxury retail will be under the age of 30.
I do think that this region for me has always been very forward-thinking for retail, and I have to say, like, we are, you know, we're in Asia, we're in the US, but the US is only just thinking about chat commerce. Like, it's really new for them. Even in COVID, you know, it's a really new concept, whereas this region has always been pushing for innovation, for change in luxury, and I think, you know, again, that's why they've helped us make the decisions. You know, content, social, chat, all of these things. It was very much a part of normal life, like 9-10 years ago. And I was in Bahrain, and I joined Instagram for Threads, sat next to a client of ours. She was like, "You've got to join." You know, and we were sending all this content. The team was sending it on WhatsApp. And I just remember that moment, and we never kind of looked back. And, you know, everyone was like, "We want more content, and, you know, more, and we want it informal, we don't want it over-polished." And so there was just so many things that were really helping guide us there. But, you know, it was there that we made that decision to really move forward and make social our main shop window.
So you mentioned, you know, this fast and growing demand for content, right? So the consumer is hungry for more at a faster pace. And so, you know, most of the retail sector is having to also catch up with that pace, right? And so we're always trying to push the boundaries by responding to the consumer needs, responding to the changes in the ecosystem. So at the group, you know, we've decided to really focus our efforts, and as a result of this, the greenhouse came to life, which is the innovation arm, you know, which is quite independent from the corporate structure as you know it, in order to ensure that there is no judgment in ideas and the innovation keeps flowing. So, you know, the greenhouse is housing 18 startups today, mainly in e-commerce. That's the main focus, but also focusing on last mile, performance marketing, curation of content for the end consumer. And we've noticed that during the pandemic, we've had to shift our gaze, because most of interaction was physical, but then there was an opportunity to connect with the teams virtually. I mean, I'd love to know, have you been involved in any R&D or incubator type programs?
So, I mean, entrepreneurship is very important to us. I remember when I first started the business, and I won't say who it was, but a CEO of a big retailer was like, "Why focusing on Gen Z, millennials? Why, you know, why are you doing that?" And I remember thinking, the more that you tell me that there's no, you know, that I shouldn't be over there, the more I needed to be there. And, you know, many people in fashion would just say, you know, we don't understand this next generation. And I was like, there was an element of frustration. I said, if you just stop and listen, you know, they're incredible consumers who are loyal to brand, who support creativity. So, you know, even my entrepreneurship experience is everyone around you can think you're crazy, but if you really believe in something and you work hard, I think working hard is the key really to success. I think you can make something happen. So, and particularly also being a woman, like I'm I'm usually the only woman in the room with many male CEOs, and it's so important to me to nurture next generation of talent. So we even have what we call an entrepreneurship scheme at Threads. So anybody can come forward with an idea, and as long as if there's a strong business plan, if it's compelling, if it fits within the group, we are very open to listening to it. And we have, again, it was so important to me that we made a safe space, that people could be open-minded, future thinking, that nobody was going to say that you're crazy. The other thing is many entrepreneurs have left Threads, so I do invest in other businesses and ex-employees, and I'm now an investor of their businesses. And again, I feel like we've helped nurture some of the talent to be able to think quite big. So yeah, and it's really important to us.
Definitely. I mean, the safe space, that's where most of innovation comes from, right? And so we also found that some of the greatest ideas came from our startup studio, which is housing what we call ibtikar. So ibtikar in Arabic means innovation and creation, essentially. So yes, sometimes great ideas will come from the public, but you might find some hidden gems that are present within the organization, which can support business growth both internally but also to our partners as well.
We had one intern, she's actually gone on now to be an entrepreneur, but we just knew from the minute she walked in, and her ideas helped shape, even though she'd be surrounded by a whole team, some of her ideas when she was with us shaped some of the decisions we made. And I think that's also important to me. I really think that luxury was very hierarchical as well, and so I think it's really important that any business you have, I think it's important to give anyone at any level the opportunity for empowerment and responsibility, because I think you can do a lot if you're given that trust and responsibility as well.
Definitely, and I think that's also a great way for us to humble ourselves in order to really listen to the consumer, right? Because we always aspire to delight, inspire, and exhilarate the consumer. And so it definitely starts from within the organization. On the other hand, I think we've all noticed this, shift and challenge during the pandemic, right? Most industries were really very much affected by the pandemic, but specifically the luxury retail industry. I mean, we've noticed that there was, a drop of 25% in sales back in 2019. We're slowly getting there. We're recovering. So we see coming back to normality by the end of Q1 or early Q2 of 2022. And so, what COVID really brought to life is the opportunity in order to really focus on e-commerce. I mean, a lot of us in retail took that as an opportunity to really shift the gaze and accelerate our e-commerce drive. It's something that we've been talking about for a while, but during COVID, that was really, the most impactful time or period where we saw several of our e-commerce platforms going live within the span of 6 months. Naturally, your business is tech-enabled. And so, I'd love to hear from you also on some of the post-COVID outlook.
There's probably two dimensions to COVID. So obviously it was easy for us to work remotely, so apart from some of the challenges with our marketing team, but in general we could work remotely. We are tech-enabled, so we had the formula for success. But we're also a smaller company, so we're 220 people, and I think when you're dealing with a pandemic, and there's a lot of operational needs of that, and it takes you away when you're a growing business. You really need your focus on innovation, and so you have to use at least 25-30% of your capacity just figuring out the operations You don't hold stock. We needed to make sure that we could get hold of the right inventory. Our customers' needs change. No longer do they need a dress for an event or some jewellery for an event, and they weren't travelling. So again, things that we were used to doing on a regular basis were less important. And then what they wanted from us was homeware and contemporary and loungewear. So within a space of I think about 4 weeks, we pivoted, onboarded 50 new brands, and they were things that we wouldn't have done as fast, but to be able to meet the demands and the needs of our clients, and rightfully so, we had to move quickly and to support them. So I would say, yes, I think being tech-enabled helps, but I do think that there's challenges, and I also think that whilst everything is tech-enabled, it is really nice to see your clients in person, even if that's once a year or something, and I think it's just to have those kind of human connections, even if it's not about shopping. Hello? So again, that didn't allow us to travel, it didn't allow our clients to travel to us, so I would say that I think definitely post-COVID, I'm really very optimistic about next year. I think a lot of us are going to be doing many things that we haven't been able to do for the last 2 years. I think we're going to spend a lot more gatherings, a lot more events, a lot more social interaction, and I think it's going to be good to spend time with people again.
Definitely. I mean, we all look forward to that. I look forward to maybe more international travel. But having said that, we've been traveling locally in Saudi and spending locally, which has been, quite interesting. This change in consumer behavior, historically, you would find in Saudi specifically, locals would travel to buy luxury. But now more than ever, we're seeing this demand for curating collections locally as well, not only internationally. We see a rise in entertainment and luxury tourism within the kingdom. It's quite. You might regularly see someone traveling from Jeddah to come to the Riyadh season, going to Al Ala season. So it's quite an exciting time, especially since we have Middle Beast happening this weekend, just next door. XP just next door, and then Middle Beast also in Riyadh. And so what we've noticed also is that Saudi, despite the pandemic, holds the highest share in the GCC for luxury retail, just below 40%. And it's quite interesting because this also shows us that even though the consumer is more driven by online experiences, brick and mortar is here to stay, and it's less transactional. We definitely see it into the future being more experiential, with online complementing brick and mortar to really bring forward this shareable customer experiences, these special moments that we can engage with the consumer both offline and online. And so, having said that, what we're really focusing on, within the group is new store openings. Again, linked to this rise of regional and local travel, we see more exposure in remote cities where our consumer is. And then we also definitely would like to acquire new brands, whether it's local or international. And so I'd love to know also, we briefly spoke about this prior to our talk, how can maybe international retailers, how do you see international retailers doing more in the kingdom?
I do believe that the majority of shopping will be digital. I think the majority of our shopping, because there's two things. I think it's curation and I think it's convenience. Now, I think the in-person moments, again, we don't necessarily see it so focused as the bricks and mortar. We see it as just moments. So it could be an event, an activation, a time where people come together for a shared interest, and we think that's going to be really important. But again, they're curated moments. They're a group of people with a common interest coming together around a curated experience, and I think that's what's going to be important, as we move into the future. But I think you won't go to an event just for convenience. It has to be for the curated side of things. And I think also technology, online is amazing, but it's very kind of one-dimensional. I think technology is going to allow us to have much more immersive experiences, and I think these are really going to grow. And I think it also allows the world to be smaller, that we can really connect globally with lots of different regions and be able to feel closer together, even if geographically we're apart. I mean, one thing I have to say about Riyadh is the energy. It's got such an incredible energy in the city, and I'm super excited to see things evolve into next year. And even the events this week, I've been asking everybody, and I'm always like, please tell me what more we can, what Threads can do and what you would want from us here in Riyadh. But I think that what people have been telling me is that they're excited to have these moments to come together, and it's great to see what's happening. So really, really think that there will be more to come next year.
Definitely, and I think most of the people here with us today are quite happy that, with these events in the last quarter of 2021, especially December, I think a lot of us are happy that we're slowly going back to normality, or at least we hope so, inshallah. And so, with this shift in consumer consumption and spending, and with this really, strong e-com boom that we're seeing, and this acceleration in digital transformation, a lot of the interactions with the consumer, as you mentioned, have become digital in nature. At the same time, we definitely see that there is a rising need for personalization, and this need to have a deeper human connection. Because it's all, digital interface, how can we further deepen this human connection?
It is the volume. I think when you go online, the volume is just, it's overwhelming. And I think that, particularly if you're busy or, I think it's very difficult to create that for yourself. So I think what's going to be very important in the digital space for luxury is that people are, I don't think retailers or brands really understand the volume of content that consumers expect. We produce a considerable amount, but I still don't think it's enough. And every day I get told we want more, and that's why we even created our franchise account, because we knew people had different interests in different niches, and we wanted to make these kind of community spaces where we could make certain content. But I think people need to really catch up. I think big shoots that take 3 months to create. I think the consumer would rather see the behind the scenes the day that shoot happens than wait to have a polished image. And I think this will have to change next year, that everyone's going to have to just start really creating their product, making the content, helping the consumer make their choice in the digital space.
So, on the back of our experiences with the digital space, I'd love to know, what are your favorite retail experiences, whether they're online or offline? Preferably, if you can share with us something that's outside of Threads, so something that you haven't founded yourself.
I think I always love when a brand is very customer focused. So, I think Glossier, whether you use those products or not, and I'm quite kind of hardcore into my beauty products, so I'm not a natural Glossier customer, but I kind of felt like I wanted to buy something because you kind of bought into the story, and they were putting their team members in their campaigns, and they were making making the pop-up shops feel like fun and a space that you want to go and visit. So I found myself visiting a pop-up shop, I found myself, buying some product. And again, I think it's because they created this very inclusive community. And I think they do really understand their customer. So I think, even Reformation, what they did in the changing rooms, so you don't have to leave the changing rooms, they put it in a cupboard for you and they change all your sizes. Like, things like that are just, they're very customer focused moments, and I think these types of brands that spend time really thinking about what their customer wants, I think they'll do well. So I always kind of like that, surprise and delight moment where they go the extra mile.
Pop-ups can be quite experiential, pop-ups can be quite impactful and powerful. So, also some of my favorite experiences, retail experience, are in the new Galerie Lafayette that opened in the Champs-Élysées. Their curation is impeccable, the creation of products, but also what's interesting is the Lafayette anticipations. So they have this really cute space where they have, talks and workshops of all sorts. So it's educational, some of them are, around wellness. So it's quite interesting to see how a retail space can be multi-dimensionals, and how we as consumers can really, buy into that story. Because
and it's also an experience that money can't buy. I think that's important. Those moments that you are bringing alongside fashion, even with the Danny moment this week, bringing some of these expertise to then put a perspective on fashion, like that's a unique moment, and I think these are really important, and people are going to have to get very innovative with them. And again, there's going to be a lot more, so again, people are going to have to really, really think about what has value to people, what they want to see.
We definitely see this, shift or a rise in shifting away from retail as, strictly transactional or, consumerism based, and more towards retail or luxury retail, fulfilling the aspiration of something. So, when you're a child and you look up to some of your characters that you see on TV and the way they dressed. And so, I feel now it's becoming more about acquiring a certain piece in order to really become, your aspiration.
Yeah, I think for us that's one of the reasons why the personal shopper was really important part of our business model, because I think you also need somebody who will help say no. So I think you want to make sure that everything you buy, genuinely you love it, and you feel amazing in it. And I think it's that interaction with somebody who can help you make the decisions that are best for you. So I'd say one of the reasons we grew so quickly at the beginning is because we genuinely were saying to our clients, like, no, I don't reckon we need that, or don't buy that, and then, we would help them kind of really focus on what would be the right thing for them to buy, to feel. Because for me, I didn't want anything sat in our client's wardrobe that they looked at and they were like, why did I buy that? So I would much rather we said to people, like, I don't think that really is for you might not like it, in a few months' time. So again, I think it's thoughtful consumption, and I think that also just gives your wardrobe such longevity, and it has, those moments, like you said, those aspirational moments. And I think, look, if you don't feel amazing in what you bought, like, don't wear it, like, you shouldn't, that isn't the piece for you. I think it's about just being really thoughtful, really considered, head to toe outfits, and it is there to help you feel, particularly after COVID. I think it's a great way for us to kind of really find our identity, kind of going out and being sociable again.
Definitely, and it's one of the things that we're observing, with millennials and Gen Z nowadays. They're becoming less impulsive, there's less impulsive buying, and it's more really around building, that collection. So when they shop for luxury, they're shopping for exclusive collections. So actually, over 80% of this young local consumer is, now open to buying new brands, to being more expressive, to being different rather than just different, which is definitely quite interesting. And you've been spending a lot of time in Saudi, as I mentioned, and spending locally, that there has been this rise in supporting and wanting to support local brands. So we've seen, this thirst for local content. And from that, we've noticed that it's very important to support local designers. And actually, some of the local designers in our Fashion Lab, which is our fashion incubator program that's under the greenhouse. So some of actually the designers in the Fashion Lab were also in Fashion Trust Arabia, in addition to the Saudi 100 brands, which the Ministry of Culture is supporting. So it's great to see, synergies across the different platforms, and it's great to see, the familiar faces in fashion.
I do think luxury fashion is becoming more democratic. I think, honestly, there is a lot more space, and I think young people are really pioneering that move. They're saying, we love traditional brands, we love heritage, but we also want contemporary luxury. We want it from all over the world, and because of social, they are driving that change, and they are saying, we're not just going to buy what we're telling us to buy. We can buy directly from these brands. They're helping them find their platform, and I think that's one of the reasons why fashion is able to change, and and why there's a platform for so much local designers, because I do think young people are really driving this, and I find that really exciting.
So there's definitely, a rise again with this social belonging. The local consumer is, looking towards the clan, right? Their friends, their family, usually engaging even before they buy luxury. So, fashion and certain beauty also products are being used to, to express, to belong to a certain tribe of people. And so, there's definitely a fast evolving fashion ecosystem. So how do you see this local young consumer? How do you envisage them interacting with your platform post-COVID?
Are you specifically talking about Gen Z, or just...
I'm talking about Gen Z, yeah.
So, in terms of, obviously, I'm a millennial, and I think the biggest thing is most retailers were scared of millennials, and they're definitely scared of the Gen Z generation. And I think we just took the same approach. So I think it goes back to listening. So actually, our Threads Gen account is run by Gen Z, and they have the authority, and they are very, very protective of what goes on that account, what doesn't go on that account, and they have a real authentic perspective. And I think spending time with them and then building out that community, we get so many insights now about what their consumer behaviour is like and what they want from us. So our approach is just, again, to listen. I think building out the Threads Gen Instagram platform just creates a community where you can collect that data on, on a bigger scale, and it's guiding us to what brands we partner with, and what behaviours they want for us. What we have more followers on TikTok, for example. Again, that's really focused on Gen Z, and just really listening to what they want, and then making our business decisions based around their feedback. And I think that allows us, hopefully, to have a more authentic connection. But again, and I would say the one thing we've seen is, I think fashion has become more fluid. I think people are not necessarily assigning to a singular tribe, 7 days a week. I think people are, one day I might dress kind of Threads Gen style, or then another day a bit more classic. And I think Gen Z are leading this. They're saying, we want to be fluid, we want to try different styles, we want to experiment, and it is having an impact on other generations to almost be more playful as well.
It's exciting to see this, rise in wanting to be expressive, and it's fresh, especially in this part of the world, especially as we see, some really interesting outfits today here, but also in Jack's district. So I hope you get a chance to maybe walk around and explore together.
I've had an incredible time in Riyadh. We're definitely going to be spending more time, but like I said, it's been extremely hospitable, and everyone, just the warmth has been, it's been so nice.
That's great. So we'd love to also, maybe open the floor to some questions from our audience. I think we have a few more minutes for Q&A. Can we get?
I can raise my voice as possible. My question is, I love all of the threads and how like the interiors, the agendas, like you said. What's the next step in that direction? Like, what are you looking for next?
So, what's the next step? So one of the things we are doing next year, so we really definitely, we're content first, we're social first. Our clients are saying to us, chat is primarily how we want to talk to you. But what we've also heard this year, and probably driven through COVID, is we also want you to have an online presence as well. So next year we are actually going to go online, which is very exciting. We're going to start with some pop-ups. We're going to start with fine jewellery pop-up next year online, and we're also doing a pop-up really focused on dressing throughout the Ramadan period. And again, that's a mix of international and regional designers from all across the region. So we've been spending time here putting together the buy and the collection. And I think, we weren't online because at that point we felt that the clients really wanted quite a focused one-to-one connection. Now, we're not going to change that. Everyone will be assigned to a personal shopper. But what we realised is our content, we weren't able to support the brands in the ways that we believe we could. And actually, when we put a piece of content out there, those specific items sell. But it stops our clients being able to see what else. There might be similar pieces, and you can't put that in all the content. So we wanted to create pop-ups that will link back to the content, so you can have, it'll be a creative version that is an expansion of the content. And the other thing that we are working on as well is live shopping. So we're testing it, we're playing around with it, and we've got really good response. So I think these two things, and I think nobody has really mastered live shopping yet in the luxury space. So again, if anybody has any feedback or wants to see anything, please do tell us, because I think again, you just need to keep experimenting. But when I told people we're going online, they were like, thank you, you guys need to go online. So I believe that they're going to be good expansions for us next year. Thank you.
We have a question here.
Nope. There we go. So back on your point about live shopping, there's a couple of things I've seen where some brands are using augmented reality features where, from your home you can point the camera at the mirror and you can kind of see what the clothing would look like on you. I've seen other trends where you can create sort of an online profile where it gets the measurement of your exact body, so you can see, all right, this shirt might be too tight on me, it might be too loose. So, what's your opinion on this sort of topic? Where do you see this industry? Which direction do you see it in?
So we stay really close to all of that technology. We're testing it all the time. We're very much focused on luxury. So for us, it is important that technology delivers for the consumer. It's the same way, when you talk about kind of automated responses versus a person. So right now for kind of automation, we think that's operational. We think that's sending your DHL tracking, updating you where you parcel, like anything where that's highly convenient. But what we don't think it's ready for is, a recommendation, because honestly, like if you're looking at a Chanel bag and then something recommends you, I don't know, a potato bag. Yes, you might love them both, but that wasn't what you were looking for. So again, I think augmented reality, it's amazing we can try on a pair of sunglasses, these things, and I think what we will do is where our partners have really nailed that technology, we'll leverage it. But I think it is important in luxury that you wait for it to deliver what it needs to. But really exciting. And again, I just think we always think about online as being progressive, but actually it's just extremely one-dimensional, and it should just be. We see it as a facilitator to our content, and there's just so many things we can do with technology to have an immersive experience, and I think this is where retailers should be focused on.
And I think definitely, you mentioned, sizes specifically. So this is something that we're already testing with Level shoes, just because it's much easier to use, AR at the moment, with shoes rather than other garments. And so that's something that we're already partnering, with our tech partners to really, deliver. But then again, it comes back to that delivery promise in luxury. The expectations are quite high, and so we're testing, and also it's great because we get to benefit from a lot of the local collaborations with that we have with Instagram and Snapchat, Chadhoop. So you will see a rise in campaigns with certain brands that are using AR at the back end to really deliver that unique customer experience. And we're working with our partners to ensure that we push forward, especially now with the metaverse coming closer and closer, especially to this region. So we will see an accelerated, we will see a lot of collaboration with the likes of Meta to start to deliver these experiences sooner than later.
Very interesting. I've actually got one more follow-up. It's not the same topic. Do you see it as consumers will come to your online store, see what they like, and then go purchase it in the shop? Or do you think maybe they'll come to the shop, try a couple of things, and then purchase online?
I think how we've been thinking about, it's about how do you use technology to create an immersive experience, and we're not focused on kind of bricks and mortar stores, that's not, and again I think Threads, we've always been thinking, okay, what's beyond that? But that doesn't mean we don't believe in human interaction, pop-ups, these moments. I think when we're talking about online, I think for us it's a facilitator. So for example, we want every customer journey to start with inspiration. That's really important to us. So it should always be triggered by some form of content. You then should have the support, or if it was online, it was maybe like a small curated view of what that content was really talking about. Again, that's helping guide you through that journey. I think what Threads doesn't want to do is just leave you in an abyss of like 10,000 SKUs. I think we want to use technology to kind of help guide that journey. And I think that helps you again buy things that you want and that you keep and that you feel connected to. So I would say for us, it's a view that it's an enabler versus like the main discovery platform.
I would definitely agree with that because we're more focused on brick and mortar, right? So, we started off as brick and mortar, but we're also very much, focused now on e-com. We've been for a while, but now more than ever, this is, we see this as the basis for the store of the future, which is something that we've been testing and really brainstorming about. And, we're hopefully excited to also, have these conversations about the store of the future with many of the key players in Saudi, since some of this.
There's definitely, I think, again, it's just listening to people and understanding what that space is for. Like, space to come together is important, but again, it's just, what should this be used for? Why are people coming here and what are they here to do?
And convenience is key. So yes, a consumer might come to a store, but then if our our e-com platforms are there to really complement the experience. So you're able to, at the same time, check for different sizes or different colors that may not be available in store. And that's part of the omni-channel journey. So the aim is, online is not competing with brick and mortar. They're really meshing and, complementing each other.
Makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Hi, Sophie. Hi, Arlo. And Sophie, we've seen you interacting with the Saudi audience during the Danish workshop and tonight. What are you taking with you from Saudi Arabia after this trip, and what did you learn?
So I've spent a lot of time with, I think every hour has been taken since I landed on Sunday, and I have been listening as much as I can and asking questions about, what can we do for you, what can Threads do better, what do you want from us? And the biggest takeaway is, I think, that people have said we want presence, and I think the event on Monday we felt had a really great energy. It was a success, but again, it was we want more presence, we want more moments together, and whilst they don't necessarily have to be about shopping, but we want these kind of thoughtful moments to come together. And also, I have a list of brands that I've been told we need to go and partner with. And again, that's something that I think is really important. So I've learned about some incredible new local talent that we will be partnering with. I've learned that we need to come back and do more. And again, a long list of other things that even just in our daily interactions with the customers that we can help improve their journey. So I'd say I've learned a lot, and I can't wait to be back.
So I don't think we have any more questions. I'd like to thank you. So my name is maybe just to recap, my name is Aya Yamani, and we've had the pleasure of having with us Sophie Hill. Thank you so much, Hiya Hub, for having us here, and thank you all for sharing this moment with us. Looking forward to seeing you all soon.
Thank you, thank you everyone. Honestly, it's been fantastic. And again, any feedback, any questions, or we finish very, very open. So thank you everyone.
Thank you.